Hello and welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. Happy holidays to everybody. Joining us from New York City here on Saturday morning, December 23rd, is Tim Bontemps.
Hello, fellas. How we doing?
Tim's getting over to the Knicks game here in a little while, but he's going to head down to Miami to cover the 76ers and Heat for us on Christmas Day, and heading off to Phoenix on Christmas Day to cover the Mavericks at the Suns is one of Dallas's finest, the one, the only Band MacMahon.
Howdy, partners. They felt like the Suns needed some Christmas cheer, so they sent me there to give them some.
They're going to be so happy to see you. I'm sure Luca will be as well. Luca has always said he loves spending his Christmases with you.
I think that's his favorite part of playing on Christmas.
I think that's right. He's like, boy, Christmas with Devin Booker and Tim MacMahon. Glorious. That's what I signed up for the NBA for. All right, so we're going to take a look here at the Christmas Day games. Got 5 of them. You guys are going to be at 2 of them. But the first game out of the chute is Bucks at Knicks on Christmas at noon Eastern. And the Knicks, interestingly, for this game, I believe Bontemps are going to be without both Mitchell Robinson, obviously he's out long term, and Jericho Sims, who's been starting in his place. And you know, the Bucks aren't the perfect team. They're working on various things, but they are one of the most dominating paint scoring teams in the NBA, particularly because Giannis is one of the great paint scorers in the history of the game, certainly in the modern era. And I don't know if I'd be so excited that to be, if I were the Knicks, having to face Giannis on Christmas Day without, you know, my starting center and my, you know, my backup starting center, even though Isaiah Hartenstein is really their backup. But, you know, it's tradition to have Madison Square Garden. It's almost always the first game out of the chute. It's a great atmosphere. I've gone to them. You've gone to them, Bontemps. But I know Giannis will be keyed up for this game, and Lillard will be keyed up for this game. And it's gonna be a challenge for the Knicks, I think.
Well, it's a unique setup on a couple of fronts. First of all, I'm about to go watch this same game in a couple of hours because they're playing a baseball series. So they're playing at noon on Saturday, or 12:30, and then they're playing at noon on Christmas, which is an interesting thing to set up for the Christmas Day game, to have, you know, the second straight game in 3 days against the same opponent. And like you said, you've also got the injury thing with the Knicks hanging over them, with Mitchell Robinson, you know, certainly out for deep into the season at a minimum, with this ankle issue he's having surgery on. And Jericho Sims probably going to miss a couple weeks. Knicks signed a guy off their G League squad today to a 2-way contract to give him a little more depth at center, but they're probably going to be rolling out there with Isaiah Hartenstein, who, like you said, has been maybe the best backup center in the league. He's a very good player, but then they're probably going to play Taj Gibson some, who they just signed off the street a few days ago. Obviously a long-time confidant of Tibbs. Looked like a guy who was signed off the street a few days ago when he first got a chance to play the other day.
No, listen, Gibson looks good, dude. He was dominating my Sunday morning pickup game a few weeks back.
I mean, he had to ask out of the game. He was like, Tibbs.
Yeah. Tibbs. I mean, Taj is right. Taj is an all-time great dude and has had a great career, but he certainly looks like a guy who's at the end of it. So it'll be interesting to see how the Knicks handle that. And then on the other side, the Bucks have to find a way to guard Jalen Brunson, who in the first couple of times these teams have played has absolutely torched them, and has, you know, sort of been emblematic of the problem the Bucks have had all season, which is they can't stop a nosebleed on the perimeter. So it is going to be interesting to see how that stuff shakes out. And whoever wins today, you know, it's probably going to be a little more difficult than normal for them to win on Monday. Having to win back-to-back games in the baseball series is tough. So be a fun matchup. The Garden crowd will be lit for a Christmas Day game like it always is, and I will be watching from Miami to see how it goes.
And there's whoa, hey, you're going to Miami for Christmas, but you live in New York and they have a game there?
Got to go watch the MVP.
Oh, okay. It is a little pettiness in this situation too. You've got Julius Randle's fresh mocking of the game ball situation. Just a little pettiness, Gotta love it. But you said the Bucks were one of the best paint scoring teams. Like, dude, the Bucks are one of the best offenses in NBA history, period. Like, I know we talked a lot about how messy things are in Milwaukee, this, that, and the other. They are averaging 120.2 points per 100 possessions. That would be the best in NBA history, except for these 76ers and Pacers are currently better. And like they're 21-7 going into the game that Bontemps is about to go watch. As messy things have been, dude, they are a half game out of having the best record in the NBA. So this is a massive challenge coming down to Madison Square Garden for the Knicks. And then, to not have a rim protector when Giannis is coming through, I think Bernard King's Christmas record is in jeopardy. They had us do that 5-on-5, and they asked for a bold prediction. And I'm like, oh.
Well,
yeah.
Giannis never looks at the stat sheet, so how is he going to possibly know?
Never. It's not the stat sheet, it's the scoreboards, and I'm promising you he'll be looking at that if he gets near 60.
So Bernard King is 60 points is the record. I think in like
84.
Yeah.
I have an on-record prediction of this happening, Wendy. I know you love those 5-on-5s for that. Make predictions. Bold predictions, not just predictions.
Brian loves to make predictions, as everybody listening knows.
Well, I did NBA Today this week, and we have this new ESPN bet stuff, and so in certain situations we have to make like picks, and I kind of I get cornered. What am I supposed to do? So I just want you to know that one of the picks I made this week was the Pistons over the Jazz. So take I keep that in mind when I ever say anything about individual games.
I got it. By the way, I think I can say this. One of our Jazz buddies, Derek Gardunia, the PR guy, texted me a clip from our last pod. And I was thinking, what do we say about the Jazz? But
nothing.
He was just highly entertained. No, we do. I think we mentioned the possibility of the Piston streak ending, but I was like, oh, did I say something bad? But it was just him being highly entertained of me calling you guys jackasses. A blast.
I think he was calling it. I think he was calling me. I think you were calling me that.
I wouldn't be the first one in this pod's history to do that.
That's true.
Certainly didn't go as viral as the previous time.
Wow.
I stand by what I said.
As you always do.
Jalen Brunson is averaging a career high 25 points a game. He's shooting a career high 46% from 3-point range and almost 7 a game. And
that has been a massive change for him going forward. His 3-point shooting, he's firing them up way more than ever. He's shooting way better than ever. And that's a real game-changing thing for him. If that's going to become a sustainable thing.
He was always a better than average 3-point shooter.
Yeah, it was always about volume. Even when he was playing off the ball primarily in Dallas with Luka, he's never been a high volume 3-point shooter. And
last 5 years, 2.9, 3.2, 4.7, and now 6.6 attempts from three.
And if he's a high volume 3-point shooter, in addition to everything that he's able to do, in ISO situations and finishing in the paint, he's an insanely good finisher for a guy who is 6'1" and not explosive. He's just so crafty. If he's a high volume 3-point shooter, in addition to that, I know there's been some controversy about, is he a 1A? Becky Hammond says no. Suddenly she's like an enemy of New York. I'm not sure there's not a whole lot of 1As, but
there's like 5 of them on the planet. The idea that Jalen Brunson isn't some sort of crime against humanity, but he is an awesome player.
Yeah, what he is a legitimate all-NBA.
Well, that's not, as someone who was sitting 2 feet from Becky when she said it, that's not what people are upset about. People are upset about that she said he was just too short. It's not the Joe Flacco is the elite argument. She said he couldn't be because he's too short.
Well, in the history of the league, in the history of the league, there's already been one guy his size that's been good enough to lead a team to a title. And that's Steph Curry. You can make an argument about Isaiah Thomas.
Well, first off, Steph is taller.
Absolutely.
First off, Steph is taller.
Steph is taller
than Jalen Brunson.
By a fairly significant margin.
But 6'3" and under. There's if you want to say Isaiah Thomas, then there's 2.
What do you mean you could? Did Isaiah Thomas not win 2 rings as the Pistons' best player? What are you talking about? You can argue.
Well, listen, I'm going to get my guy Vinny Goodwill, among others, mad. I think you can make an argument that those bad boy Pistons teams are more of an ensemble than they were.
Okay, Isaiah was absolutely the 1A on that team. Come on.
Sure.
Let's just for the sake of argument
say
that Isaiah was the 1A.
Sure. Then there's 2.
we're still talking about a very small list. And look,
Yes.
uh, this is bait. This is, it's not a real conversation. Like,
Right.
No.
I don't think Jalen Brunson would say. I mean, obviously the Knicks are still in the hunt for a mega star. I don't think, Jalen is very cautious when he says in interviews anyway. But
Oh yeah.
I think Jalen.
Here's what Jalen Brunson is. Good enough to be a key player on a championship level team. He has been the second best player on the team. Has been in the conference finals. He's good enough to be a guy that is certainly one of your 2 or 3 best players on the team is going to win the title.
Absolutely.
The Knicks just need to get the number one guy, which
And by the way,
lots of teams do.
the other thing that Jalen Brunson is one of the best bargains in the NBA. Remember
Easily.
when the Knicks signed him to that deal? Oh my gosh, $104 million for Jalen Brunson. Are you kidding me? Dude, that contract for I mean, he is a max player. He's absolutely a max
So
player.
he can extend this summer. Is that correct, Bontemps?
Yeah, because
he gets 2 years after his last deal's done. So yeah, this summer he could extend.
And the last year is a player option, which, I'll go ahead and break that story right now. He ain't picking up that player option, especially the contract is a descending deal.
Report, Colin.
The common sense, Colin.
Yeah. So look, he's playing great. Look, I think he's put himself in a position a strong position to make the All-Star team, which is a terrific accomplishment.
He arguably should have made it last year. He was probably the biggest snub last year.
Yeah. So, and great opportunity. Look, it's not going to define the season, but a great opportunity. I mean, they play twice, but it's a great opportunity. Him against Dame, and we'll see. By the time this pod is up, we'll see what he did today. But he had 45 the last time he played the Bucks. That's red meat for him. They're weak on the perimeter. He's terrific off the bounce. His in between. I mean, you're talking about a 3-point game, but his in between game is superior. He may have an incredible couple of days here against the Bucks and really, frame it even more so. So,
you know what else he is? He's a guy who loves the bright lights. For as much as he shies away from media attention, and as his dad, Rick Brunson, once laughed while telling me Jalen's boring his stuff in interviews. He loves big stage games. I mean, you look at his national championships, you look at what he was able to do during that last playoff run with the Mavericks, look at what he was able to do in the playoffs last year with the Knicks. So
he's been such a great fit here in New York. Like, obviously it all made sense from all the ties he had to come back here when he signed here, but just he is just fit in so perfectly here. And like you said, MacMahon, there's a lot of guys who come here and aren't necessarily comfortable with all the attention that comes with being on the Knicks. And while Jalen is never going to be, winning the interview award that the Writers Association hangs out at the end of the year, he does completely embrace what it means to play at the Garden and be the point guard of the Knicks. And it's been awesome to watch.
Listen, I'm sure it's been a long time since the Knicks have had a player they could fight for, where you could debate about that. So it's a good thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's true.
Okay, so the second game is the on Monday is the champs who get to host the LeBron James rule. I always think this is funny because for years they would ship LeBron to LA when he was with the Cavs and the Heat. I think I spent three Christmases in a row, or 3 out of 4 in LA when I was covering LeBron on a daily basis. I had multiple Christmas dinners at the Pantry, which, if you know what that is, it's a legendary it's not 24 hours anymore post pandemic, but it was a legendary 24-hour place right next to then Staples Center.
I've had breakfast with you there. Here's a shocker too. Wendy picked up the check.
I don't remember that. You could have said you picked up the check and I would have apologized.
No, I had gator arms for sure. I did the fake wallet reach.
But since the pandemic, it's gone from 24 to 365 for like 70 years. So it's like closed on Mondays and Tuesdays and open for like 6 hours. It's a casualty of the pandemic. Anyway, so LeBron, as the Heat were winning titles, kind of banged on Adam Silver, said, "Hey, the champs should be able to stay home for Christmas." And Adam said, "You know what? You're right, LeBron." And then he like won one more title in the next 6 years, and he kept having to go on the road on Christmas. But since he's been in LA, he's been home as they are later on Monday. But this is the champs' privilege to be home on Christmas, and they host the Warriors. The challenge here is that the Warriors, especially right now, lean into playing small. And even though the Nuggets are maybe not the top of their game, they just have such great size. I think it's such a tough matchup for Golden State and their current alignment. But Bontemps, you just saw the Nuggets in New York, I believe, on Friday night. They were playing the Nets, which they won. What is the state of the Nuggets right now? They've had quite a road heavy schedule, I feel like, early in the season, but they've got some big time marquee games coming, and this is one of them.
Well, our pal Michael Malone was very quick to point out that the Nuggets have played more home games than anybody and have played more back-to-backs than anybody.
Road games.
Road games.
Yeah.
Did I say home games?
Yeah.
I meant road games.
I was like, I thought they'd had a road heavy schedule.
Yes.
So
No, he said, I apologize. He said repeatedly during his pre and post game last night that they'd played after today, because they and the Knicks have played 17 road games. They will have played 18 of their 31 road games or games on the road after they play in Charlotte Saturday night.
He is a man who sticks to his talking points, boy.
He was going through the talking points. I hadn't seen Denver yet this year, and look, they sleptwalked their way through this game against Brooklyn on Friday night, and I came away from the game thinking that Denver's going to be just fine in the West. To paraphrase a quote from somebody else last year. And it's funny you mentioned LeBron, Brian, because they reminded me watching them last night, in particular, of the LeBron Cavs the second time, when they know they're the best team in the West, I think, even though they're not beating their chests about it.
In the West, in the league.
Well, but I mean, I'm just talking about getting out of the West first, right? They very well could win the title again, but they just feel like those LeBron teams where they know how good they are, and they're just pacing themselves through the regular season, and they're just getting their way to the spring, and then they're going to be ready to go once they get to April 15th. Like they know exactly who they are. They know how they want to play. Michael Malone is playing Peyton Watson in the closing minutes last night.
That was interesting.
It was interesting. Played him over Porter. He had a very bad foul on Cam Thomas, fouled him making a three.
And then Porter went back in the game.
Yes.
It was right after Watson had a great tactical closeout for a dunk. It was an and one.
Yeah.
Missed the free throw. Then there's an and one on the other end where he committed a terrible foul.
Yeah, they're up 5. They're up 5 with 20 seconds to go, and he just plows into Cam Thomas, gives up a and one. He gets taken out. And look, Michael Malone said after the game, he's been one of our best perimeter defenders. I've got to trust him to stay in the game there, but he's earned that kind of opportunity. But that's just an example, right? They're playing in a game on the road, and they're experimenting a little bit inside the final 30 seconds. Like I think that sort of underscores the position this team is in. I mean, I sort of laugh at you saying it's a tough matchup for Golden State in their current situation. I think it's a tough matchup for Golden State in any situation against Denver. Exactly. And I came away from that game just thinking they're clearly, to me, head and shoulders above everybody in the West.
Well, in this game you were at, Jokic and Murray combined for 63 points, 16 rebounds, 16 assists, and I'm just doing the rough math, like 65% shooting.
Well, and that's the other thing. Jamal Murray looks awesome.
Yeah, and Jokic never once got into a full sprint. He just kind of
and he was all excited because on Thursday he went up to some racetrack in Yonkers to watch the Trotters. Is that right? I think when it's like harness racing, it's called trotting. Isn't that right?
You got me on that. But yeah, he was at the racetrack.
He goes to the racetrack and doesn't bet. He just wants to go smell the horses.
Wow. But you're right. Look, no matter what, it's going to be a tough matchup for the Warriors. But without Draymond, like, the size becomes that much more glaring. And for all the focus on Draymond and Clay struggles, which by the way, Clay's now he's in a little stretch here where Clay's shooting it
Yeah.
really, really well.
Well, that's the thing. The Warriors have been they put some wins together. Um, they've gone to Brandon Pajemski and Jonathan Kuminga on the starting lineup. That is working. They are giving significant minutes to Trace Jackson Davis, the guy who was picked at the end of the second round out of
Yes.
Indiana. And
Playing
Kerr,
really well.
yeah, I mean they the whole league plays on Saturday, so yeah, they're home to the Blazers. So we'll see what happens. But uh,
But
Kerr,
who's not playing well, that's really important in this one is Looney.
that's true.
And Looney,
Kevon Looney's looked old.
yeah,
He's
and
looked very old.
not that old. I looked it up last night because he's 27.
But he's old. But he's old in body miles, though.
Yes,
I mean, had
it's an
both
old-
those hip surgeries, has dealt with
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff, has been a fantastic player for them, but looks
Yeah.
like he's lost. He was already a guy who was sort of ground bound as it was, and it looks like he's
Mhm.
lost a little bit of burst. And when you're
Yeah.
a guy who plays like him, if you lose a little bit of burst, it can make a big difference. We also, I think, need to point out, by the way, Mike Dunleavy Jr. took over this job in June. And in his first week on the job, he trades Jordan Poole, gets out of that contract, which was a Houdini act based off how things have gone since then. And then he drafts.
Jordan Poole is not looking good this year.
No, that's a contract.
Right.
If it was on their books, they wouldn't be able to move. So he got out of that deal, got them a lot of flexibility moving forward, which is pretty important for where they've been at financially. And then in the same week, drafts Brandon Pajemski 19th and gets Trace Jackson Davis with the second to last pick in the draft. Like, that's a pretty damn good first week on the job. And if you look at this Warriors team, if they hadn't had that week, they're already in a dicey spot. They would be in a hell of a lot worse spot if they hadn't got all that stuff done right away.
Well,
so he
Steve
deserves
Kerr
some
is,
credit for.
so look, I obviously the whole organization was buoyed by the win over the Celtics. That was a great performance. And, the Celtics were riding high. They had a 5-game win streak at that point. That game was a little bit more about the Celtics to me than it was about the Warriors. But Steve Kerr has sort of declared he thinks the team is pivoted now. He's like, I think he feels like the team's in a relatively good place.
They're 4-1 since the suspension started.
Right. So, but I think he just likes the way that they're playing. So again, we'll see how they handle. They just lost to the Blazers, or they just barely beat the Blazers last week when Curry had one of the worst games of his career. So I don't want to assume that they're going to beat him at home tonight, but it's possible they could come into that game having won 5 of 6
and be back over 500 if they win that game too.
But this Trace Jackson Davis is like, you don't think for a veteran team that's been a dynasty like the Warriors, you don't think a second round rookie can be that important. But if Looney is struggling, if Trace Jackson Davis emerges as a consistent factor, as a big body, a big, 6'9", 245 energy, and in that Boston game, look at his line. 25, I'm sorry. I got the plus minus is 25, but 10 points, 13 rebounds, plus 25, a few blocks.
Followed that up huge block on Jaylen Brown on a dunk. Jaylen tried to end his life on a dunk, and he swatted it away. It was a very impressive play.
Yeah, followed that up with 10 and 15 against the Wizards last night. The list of rookies who have had consecutive double-doubles this year is Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, and Trace Jackson Davis.
Pretty good company.
Pretty good company. And look, I'm not saying he's going to be a double-double machine every single night, but I'm saying it does look like they might have found a real player with the 57th pick, and they, frankly, they need him to be a real player.
Yeah, his vertical threat inside, giving them a bit of a lob threat, and a guy can go get the ball. It gives them a different look. And like you said, especially on a night, if Looney doesn't have it on a night and they can roll him out there, it's a pretty significant thing because they don't really have that. And frankly, Jonathan Kuminga, who's been a pretty polarizing guy there throughout his career, is in probably the best stretch of his career. I think he scored double digits 8 straight games in a row. Steve Kerr said after that last game, it's the best he's ever played. He's obviously a guy that has been in and out of Steve's doghouse over time, but he's been starting. He's played him some big minutes. So they are getting some pretty significant contributions from these young guys. Moses Moody's played really well. But they still need to get Klay Thompson all the way back. He's been better. They need Andrew Wiggins to get out of the funk he's been all season, and
He's
they
been
need to
awful.
get.
I mean,
Yes,
Andrew
he started
Wiggins,
to play. He started to play a little bit better, and then he closed his hand in a car door and has been terrible ever since he came back. And obviously, they're not going to go anywhere if they can't get Draymond sorted out whenever he does eventually get back on the court. But the young guys are playing well, and that's it's given them a real boost when they needed it.
Going into this game tonight, this is Klay Thompson's 3-point shooting over the last 2 weeks. Now, it comes off where he had just a terrible stretch where he had a couple of 1-for-8 3-point shooting games. But these are his last 5 3-point games going into Saturday night's game. 8 of 12, 4 of 9, 5 of 10, 6 of 15, 4 of 10. All over 40%.
That sounds like Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
Well, it's like last year. He was terrible the first 6 weeks, and then he hit over 300 threes and was incredible the final 4 months of the year. And if he can do that again, the Warriors will immediately start looking a lot better if he looks like Klay Thompson again.
Yeah, and Klay Thompson kept them afloat last year when Steph went out. That's why, like, as he got off to this slow start, you always have to be a little hesitant to shovel dirt on greatness. And obviously, Klay Thompson is one of the greatest shooters of all time. But just because, like, it's not like we had to go back a long time. Last year, got off to a slow start, and then, for much of the season, was one of the best shooters in the league, and didn't finish strong, faded in the playoffs, but he's still there. He when he gets in a groove, he's still a historically elite shooter.
Jackson informs us he's shooting 39% from three of the last 10 games. It's pretty good.
And 96% at the foul line.
Also pretty good.
By the way, Trace Jackson Davis, his father is Dale Davis.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea about that.
I know
That's
it's
wild.
not really a super pub. Well, so he didn't. Dale wasn't. He doesn't consider Dale his father. He considers Ray Jackson, who was a running back in the NFL. I think he kind of raised him. I don't know everything there, so I don't want to go into it. But I really just learned that recently. I didn't. I mean, Bontemps and I saw Trace Jackson Davis play last year in the NCAA tournament because unfortunately Indiana pounded Kent State. Bontemps drove me up to Albany from New York. I flew into New York and he drove me up to Albany.
We talked about this on the pod.
I cannot believe you spent that much time voluntarily with him.
Well, it was a rough drive back that night because that drive back from Albany, there's not much going on, and we, Kent took it, but I didn't know that then, and I didn't know that when he was drafted.
But you see the frame, that's for sure.
Yeah. When you look at his face, you say, "Wait a minute," that does look like Dale Davis. So anyway, the funny thing is that Dale Davis was just a brute and a bruiser. Trace has, very, pretty good athleticism for a guy that size. So, but
Dale Davis was awfully athletic. You don't grab his rebounds.
He was a heck of a player. I mean, he was a great big.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But again, Trace Jackson Davis, they've won 3 straight games. He's played more minutes than Looney in all 3 games, and in the last 2, he's played twice as many minutes.
Right, and you got the head coach.
Yeah, and Steve Kerr loves Kevon Looney, loves him, but at some point you got to wonder, does that end up becoming a permanent switch? And he's either starting, or when Draymond's back, it's those 2 guys playing, and Looney is not. That's going to be something to monitor with the Warriors going forward for sure.
All right, at 5:00 on Christmas Eastern time is the big one. Celtics at the Lakers. Classic rivalry here. Zach Lowe said something interesting. He said he wants to see the Celtics in green and the Lakers in gold. None of this Christmas Day, none of these Minneapolis Laker throwback where the Lakers are wearing white or the Celtics are wearing black or anything like that. I don't know what uniforms they're going to be wearing, and I'm not like super traditionalist, but
don't they wear special uniforms for all the teams on Christmas now? Isn't that like a thing?
Well, the thing is that the Celtics, special uniforms are the green uniforms, like the Celtics throwback.
Yeah.
By the way, Zach Lowe, made me. I'm reading his 10 things, which is like 9 things now, and
sometimes it's 7.
he referred to Draymond's sneering ubiquity, and good Lord, Zach, don't make me look words up while I'm reading. That's a lot of effort.
Well, anyway, the Celtics, somebody asked me one time, are the Celtics ever going to wear throwbacks? And I go, they wear them every night.
Yeah.
There are a few
so-
teams that should never wear alternate jerseys, and these are two of them.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like the Cowboys should never change their uniforms. Notre
That's
Dame
right.
should never change its uniforms. The Yankees, there's certain uniforms
That's right.
like you don't
The Knicks,
change classics.
the Bulls, the Knicks, the Bulls, the Lakers, the Celtics. They should never have alternate jerseys.
Well, the
They
Bulls,
should wear their
sometimes
jerseys every
wear
game.
on St. Patrick's Day, they sometimes have worn those green jerseys. That's kind of interesting. But, sometimes, for big home games, the Lakers sometimes wear their whites. But I agree. I think this should be Lakers in gold versus the Celtics in green.
Please.
On the regular Laker court, don't,
Please. I'm with Zach on that 100%. Let's see these teams look like they're supposed to.
And
on the
just
court
and just
Monday.
for posterity's sake, take down the just cover up the in-season tournament banner for this game.
Cover up the jinx banner, the curse banner, because they have been bad since that in-season tourney.
They've been bad outside the tournament. They've been bad
I know.
outside the tournament all season. They go 7-0 in the tournament. They're what, 8-14 in non-tournament games?
What are they since the tournament?
1-5, I think. Well, they're playing Oklahoma City tonight.
So they'll be 1-6, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, going into this game, they're 1-5. Their one win is by 3 points over the Spurs,
who they lost to
The
2
next
days
game.
later and broke the Spurs 18-game losing streak.
18 games. Oh, I mean, and LeBron's sat that one out, has been banged up, et cetera, et cetera.
He's okay. And I'm going to say,
Well, by the way, they're scheduled to end the month. Thunder Saturday night. Then they play the Celtics. Certainly not going to be favored to win that game. They get Charlotte at home. They should win that game. And then they end the year on the road with the Wolves and the Pelicans. Like the Lakers,
they go right back to
are in some
Minnesota
trouble.
that fast?
Yeah. The Lakers are in
Wow.
some trouble. Lakers are in some trouble.
Well, they've played a very heavy road schedule. I think MacMahon told me since Thanksgiving it'll be 24 of 32 days on the road. But here's the thing about this. While it is important to point out home and road stretches as relative to team short-term performance, everybody plays 41 and 41 over the same amount of days.
Not anymore.
Well, that's right. The Lakers have played.
Lakers are getting
41,
42.
41.
Lakers are getting
Yes.
42.
Yeah, the Knicks have like
And-
42 road games. So it
And
averages out roughly.
okay, you're right. I take it back. However, I do believe, according to Mr. James, the Lakers were compensated for that extra game.
Yeah, the general split's going to be pretty even home and road.
Well, and they also got a home game against the Pelicans where they didn't have to try in Vegas. So I'd say it worked out okay for them.
Yeah.
Well, so after the game on Thursday night when they lost to Minnesota, it was the second night of a back-to-back. I actually thought they acquitted themselves well in that game. LeBron sat.
Yeah, there's no
Anthony
shame
Davis-
in losing a close game without LeBron in Minnesota for sure.
Heck no, Minnesota's a beast, especially at home. And after the game, Anthony Davis, and I will say this, Anthony Davis has been really good over this last few weeks, putting up huge numbers, playing through minor injuries. Like he turned his ankle in Chicago on Wednesday night. And I don't know how his ankle felt, but there were other times in his career where I suspect he might have sat, but he laced it up and played and put up 30 and 9 or something like that, in a tough game against big physical Wolves. They're getting great production out of him and they're not translating it in the win column. But after the game, he's kind of frustrated, and maybe it was just a throwaway line, but he's like, this game on Saturday is a must win. And I was like, be careful saying that, AD. Do you know who you're playing on Saturday?
Yeah, it's an awfully good Oklahoma City team that you're going to see.
And I'll tell you what, they just snapped the Thunder just snapped the Clippers. By the way, next year the Thunder are gonna be playing on Christmas. Our buddy Royce Young, you better prepare for that.
Listen, the little Wolves might as well.
I agree. I can watch that.
It's gonna be a lot of competition for Christmas Day games. That's for sure.
Yeah, they can't all be West teams.
So the other day, the Thunder snapped the Clippers 9. I think it was 9-game win streak at that point.
It was 9. Yep.
And some of their players came out. I remember specifically Paul George saying, "Whoa, boy, Chet Holmgren is a real." And the thing is,
Ooh.
Holmgren had 7 blocks in back-to-back games. And in that game,
1-7-1-8.
and I don't think he even had a block at all.
It was the first game this month he didn't have multiple blocks.
And yet the Clippers were walking out going, holy Moses.
But the man also, skinny, kind of goofy looking rookie Chet Holmgren in a tight game in the third quarter did an up and under move where he threw the ball off the glass, grabbed it in traffic, and dunked with 2 hands. The dude's got some cojones, some swag, and is just he's been he's their number 2 offensive option, and he's, as a rookie, I'm not going to put him. I'm going to say he's a defensive player of the year candidate. He should be on some ballots if the voting was now as a rookie.
I've been joking with you guys about how Holmgren Wembanyama is going to be the new generation's Magic Bird, and it's obviously a joke. But my point is,
well, it's not really, because you discovered them both. So
my point is, like, these 2 dudes,
they're special.
Not only are they incredibly athletic for their size, but they've got some swagger to them.
Yes,
they've
got some swagger, and that is, I'm telling you, get in on it now. Get in on it now.
And instincts. Chet's defensive instincts are unreal, and offensively, like, dude, I thought he would struggle some offensively as a rookie. People I talked to around the league weren't sure that he'd make a significant impact. It's a great situation because of the playmaking around him, but dude, he has been phenomenal on that end of the floor. And he's a matchup problem for centers. He's a huge matchup. Like we talked about, there's not very many big guys you really worry about beating them up in the post. The ones that can, if they have to guard him at the other end, it's a problem as well.
Look, we've talked about it. He's what Evan Mobley was supposed to be. Like that, like if Evan Mobley was playing the way Chet Holmgren, I mean, obviously he's hurt right now, but if he had been playing the way Chet Holmgren is playing right now, the Cavs would be in a different situation. Like that's how good this guy has been walking in the door. We were talking about this in our text yesterday. Would love to see Oklahoma City be aggressive between now and the deadline. Don't have to give up the whole farm of assets they've got to do something, but add some pieces to this team, because I think they do have a chance to make a run in the West this year if they do that. But
by the way, this is exactly why Bontemps and I are never allowed on the NBA Today panel except for like the dead of off season, because in a Lakers Celtics discussion, we are just all in on talking about the Oklahoma.
Well,
City.
I was about to bring this back. I was about to bring this back to the Lakers. I was about to bring this back to the Lakers, but the Lakers
guys were both on the show this week. I don't know what you're talking about.
I said the panel.
To bring this back to the Lakers,
that fancy desk, getting makeup done.
It's they're obviously not in a great situation.
I had makeup and hair this week, brother. There was makeup and hair. Sorry.
No, it's all good. They're obviously not in a great situation at the moment. As you said, LeBron and AD have been questionable every game, though they're playing all the time. Yeah. But those guys have missed a total of 5 games this season, and the Lakers are 1 game over 500. Like that is a problematic situation for the Lakers.
I'll tell you what, the Lakers would be a real threat in the big 3 because they've got 3 players. They've got 3 players. They've got LeBron, AD, and 6th man of the year candidate Austin Reeves.
Well, I gotta bring up one quick point about Austin Reeves, because Darvin Ham said something interesting the other day. So they played that game in Minnesota and they lost. And Darvin Ham said, I want to keep Austin Reeves around 28 minutes because that keeps him fresh.
Yeah, that was interesting to the Laker fans, trust me, when he said that.
I was like, really? We're gonna have our 3rd best player play 28 minutes a game? That's the plan?
I would warn against putting too much stock into public Darvin Ham minute limits, given the one with LeBron to start the season.
I know, but that was I thought that was a very interesting thing to say on a variety of levels.
As our buddy Mac 10 said about the LeBron one, the minutes cap was capped.
That's a good line.
Good
line. By the way, speaking of your boy Mac Tensi, where are the Lakers? What seed are they at right now?
They are right now. They are in 9th. As of right now, they're a half game ahead of the Suns.
Only because the Suns are eating exhaust right now.
The nickname's back. Mac Tensi, the nickname is back. Hey, listen.
Well, if they lose tonight and the Warriors win, they will be in 10th. They will be ahead. They'll be tied with Phoenix, by the way, who we'll get to, for the 10th and final play-in spot.
Yeah, and listen, I just saw a bunch of folks in Memphis who are having fun again, who think they can get right in that mix. Not right in, but think they can
Hey, I'll also
travel a long road to get in that mix.
Listen, we talked about this yesterday. If the Lakers lose this game, all right, Memphis is 4 back in the loss column of the Lakers.
Memphis is 11 games under 500, and Jaren Jackson Jr. said it out loud. Basically, their goal is to get back to 500. And if they get back to 500,
that's a reasonable goal, by the way. That's not crazy. Absolutely.
Well, if they get back to 500, they got a shot to make the play-in tournament.
By the way, if they get back to 500, it means that they played
at a 50-some-odd win pace.
Yeah.
No, it's a 50-something win pace from when
I know, but 600 win percentage, which is basically what they were last year. Basically, if they return to last year's performance, post Josh suspension,
there's 55 games left in the season. For to get to 500, they got to go 11 over. That's literally a 60 win pace, or 60% of their win pace.
All right, Celtics. They're sort of humming along. They shoot way too many 3-pointers.
Oh
no, they don't. No, they don't.
Yes,
this
they
is
do.
not. This is not.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. They shot the other night in Golden State. They shot 58 threes, and
yes,
if they
missed,
shot,
okay,
and if they had shot 52, they would have won.
No, they wouldn't have. No. We have to stop.
Or if they would have made 2 more.
That's right. They got 1,000 wide open shots in the game. They missed them all. Now
Jason
hold on.
Tatum is 6'9", and occasionally in a big game setting, in a playoff setting, he's going to have to go to the basket.
The Celtics made a trade for Kristaps Porzingis in June because their team has struggled at times to execute late in games and isolation situations. Kristaps Porzingis did not play in the game against the Warriors. So the Celtics look like the team they have looked like.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did they not know he wasn't playing? Did they think he was on the court?
The Celtics traded for Porzingis so they would have a different way to attack defenses late in games. At the end of the day,
they didn't do.
Again, he wasn't playing, and they also missed.
Did they know he wasn't playing? I haven't got an answer yet. Did they know he wasn't playing? Why did they shoot? Why did they chuck away from 3-point range at the end of the game?
Because they got one wide open shot after another. There was a possession in overtime where they got 4 wide open threes and missed all of them.
I know they were not all wide open, and that was
one of them by Jason Tatum was contested. The other 3 or 4 shots were wide open shots. They also had Jaylen Brown drive to the rim and miss a layup with 45 seconds left, and Jason Tatum drove to the rim on Steph Curry and missed a finger roll with 20 seconds left. The idea that they shot too many threes in that game was insane.
Look,
they missed wide open shots.
They are an awesome team. They are absolutely, totally built for 2024. They have everybody on their court can switch, basically, maybe not Porzingis in some cases, but they can switch. They can all handle. They can all shoot from the perimeter. They have just tremendous perimeter defense. They're probably going to win. I would guess right now they're going to be the only 60-win team, if I had to guess. Maybe Milwaukee.
They'll be in the ballpark.
Definitely
the favorites disrespected.
The favorites to win the East, although obviously Milwaukee and Philly are playing well, but the favorites to win the East. But I do think at times, because they're so, because Missoula wants them to shoot so many threes and they have so many capable 3-point shooters, if you're going to criticize them, I think there's 2 criticisms. One is that they could use another rotation player that's got some experience. And sometimes they fall in love with the 3 a little bit because they can do it. I think that's
what did you say about Jason Tatum the other day?
I don't know. I'm a big Jason Tatum supporter.
Jason Tatum.
I don't like when he bails the team out.
You said Jason Tatum could be the MVP of the league and can be the best player.
I believe that.
MacMahon and I both disagreed with that. The Celtics' biggest problem is that the last couple of years when they've played the playoffs, Jason Tatum has not been good enough in these kind of situations. Like, the reason they went and got Kristaps Porzingis, let's just be honest about it. The reason they went and got Kristaps Porzingis is because they have failed in isolation situations in the playoffs because Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have not been good enough in those spots. So they had to find another way to attack defenses by getting Porzingis, who can operate out of the post, who could give them a guy to attack mismatches. As we've talked about a bunch of times on the pod. Go back to the first game they played against Miami this year at home. Bam Adebayo, instead of flying around, guarding everybody on the team, he had to stay on Porzingis in that game. It totally shifted the way that Miami could guard them, and Boston looked like a totally different team against them as a result. So they have to have the best ensemble of players in the league, which they do. Their top 6 guys, because their top guy is not on the same level
they were
as Nikola
playing
Jokic
a
and these
team
other
that
guys.
was playing one of the smallest lineups in the league with suspect rim defense. They missed 43s in a game they lost in overtime.
Okay,
I am saying you can go to
how many losses
the
this
basket.
year? They've lost 6 games this year.
I agree
Dude,
that they're a great team.
Their offense is not in need of fixing. They would have the best offense in NBA history, except for there's 4 better this season.
Well, but
they're averaging over 19 points per 100 possessions, leading the league in 3-point attempts. Their offense is
agree.
just fine.
I'm not debating any of that.
Where Brian is correct is that their offense, I think that game was instructive because their late game offense has been a problem for years, and it was a problem in that game. But the issue was not that they were shooting too many threes. It was that we have seen that same script play out where they had shots at the rim, they had shots from 3, they had shots all over the place late in that game, and they did not execute enough to win the game at the end. And that, if you want to look at the Celtics and say, what is the thing that's going to hold them back from winning the title, which we all think they can do, we all think they're one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the league, is that they have repeatedly struggled in those situations, no matter where they're shooting the ball from the floor.
Well, right.
And that's why they went and got Chris.
Jaylen Brown hands the ball to the opposition. That's,
Well, and that's why they went and got Kristaps Porzingis this summer.
It's also why they got
look in those situations.
It's also why they got Drew Holiday. Look, I don't. The Celtics are awesome. I don't want to make this a referendum on that. I'm just saying that's a weak spot. And one of the things that they do in late game situations is sometimes settle for shots where they could pressure the defense a little bit more. Obviously, if Jason Tatum gets the ball wide open, he's going to shoot it. But I don't think it's always the case.
The other thing they do is they get stagnant, and it turns into a your turn, my turn.
And that happens. That's happened in the NBA for 70 years, and will happen for 70 more.
Well, but it's a specific problem for the Celtics. They have struggled. Those 2 guys have struggled in late game isolation situations. That's been their biggest problem.
Why the great players, the great wing players in NBA history, the guys who are the 1As, which I believe Jason Tatum is and can be, they don't settle in those situations. Kobe didn't settle. LeBron didn't settle. Jordan didn't settle. Tatum is that type of player. He is 6'9". And in that game against the Warriors, which is 1 game out of 82, okay. He's had a lot of great games. I'm just saying that game is instructive because they're going to play those games when it matters. How many of game 7s? Hell yes.
Well, I've seen him hit a whole lot of threes in crunch time. I can think of 2 to beat the Boston Celtics from the left wing just against them.
Well, you think Luka is a settler? Luka drives like a maniac. It's why he screams at the ref every 15 seconds. All right.
He screamed after step back threes too.
The Lakers
Mavs Suns later.
The Lakers need a good performance in this game, even though Boston is Boston's been in California. Wait, where is Boston tonight? They're in the Clippers.
They're playing the Clippers in LA Saturday.
The Celtics have been in LA, I think, since Thursday, and they've been in California for like 6 days. The Lakers have been in the upper Midwest. It's a advantage Celtics in this situation. Okay. What time does your game start, Bontemps? Is that like a 7:30 or 8 o'clock Eastern?
I think it's 8 o'clock. I'll look right now.
At the Kaseya Center.
That's what they call that place now?
That's right. Where the Heat, who are playing better since Bam Adebayo returned from that hip injury, they will be mostly healthy. Also, Tyler Hero back from his latest injury, averaging over 30 points the last 3 games. So the Heat are going to have a representative team. They're going to be, I think, pretty much full strength for when
we will see if Jimmy Butler plays. He's missed the last couple games, I believe.
Oh, that's right. He didn't play on Friday night? I thought he did.
Yeah, I will look. Okay. He sat out the game I was at on Wednesday in Orlando.
I thought he played last night, but I could be wrong. I was traveling.
He did not play against Miami. Okay. I didn't think so.
All right, we'll see. Okay, and then you've got the scalding hot Joel Embiid, I didn't look at our stats and information notes today. On Friday night, the Sixers had 3 guys score over 30 points.
Embiid had a slow start and finished with 31, 10, and 9.
That is a below average game for him.
Yes.
Maybe not the
Seriously.
9.
He had,
31,
I think he had
31 and 10.
He had around 10 points at halftime. And then I looked at the end of the third quarter and he was up to 25.
Yeah, like Embiid comes off.
He's
Man.
got the longest 30 and 10 streak since Kareem in the Bucks days.
Seriously,
It's pretty
31
good.
and 10 is an off night. Not just
It's pretty
saying
good.
it, statistically is an off night. Tobias Harris had 33 and Tyrese Maxey's just killing. Just a extremely impressive situation for Philly. But these are the games that the Heat are constructed to win. And look, Bam's got a tough hand. Bam is an undersized center, and the Heat ask him to do so many different things. And one of them is to deal with these giants like Jokic and Embiid. But we had a question on NBA Today this week. I think there's been 5 or maybe 4 guys or 5 guys ever who've scored over 50 on Christmas Day. And we were wondering, this is the crazy scoring this year. Who on Monday could reach 50, who could join that club? Obviously, MacMahon, you mentioned Giannis. I think that's absolutely in play. You mentioned 60. I wouldn't rule that out. Embiid has 2 50-point games this year, Bontemps. I wouldn't rule out even in a tight game, Joel doing it again.
Listen, he's been on quite a heater. Let's talk about scoring though. It reminds me of a trivia question that a guy, Mike Walczewski, the PA guy of the Knicks, asked me about earlier this week. I thought I was going to throw at you guys on the pod. There are 6 players in the history of the NBA who have scored at least 20 points per game in every season they played. 6 total. 4 of them are active. Who are the 6 guys? LeBron is one of the 6 guys.
Luka's another.
Luka, one qualifier, minimum 400 games. So Luka is not one of them because he hasn't played enough games. He will once he has.
Yeah. Okay, so LeBron's one. You said that there's 4?
4
Durant?
active, 6 total. Durant's another one.
LeBron,
2 older
Durant.
guys, LeBron and Durant, 2 guys in their prime, and 2 retired guys.
So Embiid.
Embiid is one of them.
Okay,
Really?
we got 3. 20 in every season.
1 guy in his prime and 2 retired guys.
And he's played 400 games.
At
The
least 4
retired guys
games.
is going to be Kareem and Wilt.
Both wrong.
Both wrong. Oh, that's right.
Well, it's the end of their end of their
season.
careers.
Jordan
Jordan is one.
and
I thought we were picking the active guys.
hold on.
No, there's 6 total.
We're bouncing around. You
6 total.
pick one. You ain't contributed nothing.
I just did. I just picked Durant.
Oh, congratulations. Jeez.
There's 1 active guy and 1 retired guy.
Booker's not on that list. No,
Nope.
not rookie year.
No,
Steph didn't. He wasn't
No.
averaging.
no.
Okay.
Dame?
No.
Good guess.
Giannis?
No.
No.
Giannis was-
You're
yeah.
right. Sorry.
This team is not playing on Christmas.
Anthony Edwards.
Nope.
No, not enough.
Not enough games.
Well, golly, we're struggling. John Morant. No, not enough games.
Nope.
I don't think he didn't average 20 this rookie year. Trae Young. Is that enough
Nope.
games? Damn it.
Nope.
God, all right.
That's a good guess, though. Trae Young's a good
Tired of
guess.
the noping. The name.
Go ahead.
It ain't DeMar DeRozan, is it?
Nope.
Yeah,
All
no
right.
more nopes. Let's hear some yeps. Go ahead.
You want me to tell you who it is?
Yes.
Yes, that's what he said.
Donovan Mitchell is the other
Oh,
guy of the
I
current
should've
players.
gotten that one. I should have gotten that one.
You should have. One of you should have gotten it. See, it's Brian's favorite team, and you covered him all those years in Utah. One of you
Yeah,
should have
he
figured
was
it out.
Donovan's
He
got a
was-
nasty illness. He's missing a bunch of games, and the Cavs are wheezing without him.
And then the other retired player is not Wilt, and it's not Kareem.
Karl Malone. No, he got off. he
Not
didn't do
Carl,
poorly.
not Karl Malone,
Elgin Baylor.
not Elgin Baylor.
Good guess.
Bob Pettit.
It's Bob Pettit.
Oh,
This I was hoping McMahon would guess it. This started because our guy Mike Walczewski, who's a big fan of the pod, as everybody who listens knows, texted me after the last pod. Thought LeBron should have been higher in the straw poll, and he said we should try to get Bob Pettit on the pod to have McMahon talk to him.
Man,
And I said,
Bob Pettit's 91 years old. I'm not
well,
gonna.
that's what he said. I don't know if I don't know if we're gonna get Bob Pettit on a Zoom, but then Mike said to me, he scored at least 20 points in every game of his career. I wonder how many guys did that. So
every game in his career.
Every
timeout.
I misspoke. Every year of his career.
That is impressive.
He finished with an average of at least 20 every year of his career. I started going through the guys, and those are the only guys that have ever done it.
No, I mean, listen.
Two guys have finished their career, him and Jordan, which is pretty good. And those 4 current guys.
MacMahon, you'd have loved him in his prime, apparently, because, like I said, Paul Silas told me stories about his ankle-length mink coats. I mean, the man could dress. I mean, Kyle Kuzma.
Do I look like a guy who wears ankle-length mink coats? Give me a break.
He's the Kyle Kuzma of his day.
Oh boy!
All right,
that's a good stat. I gotta give it. I can't. I'm mad about not getting Donovan though. I'm mad about that just because obviously I covered him a lot as a rookie, and he was the first rookie to average 20 plus on a playoff team.
Well,
since Carmelo.
That was the year where everybody in Utah was annoyed because Ben Simmons was considered to be a rookie.
One rookie of the year, yeah.
And,
rookie with a question mark on the Adidas hoodies?
Yes, that's right.
Hey,
I don't hear anybody in San Antonio complaining about Chet being considered.
That's because Chet and Wemby are both Nike guys, so you're not going to get the shoe marketing. It was more so.
Oh, but the Jazz fans were salty.
Well, yeah, because Donovan got them salty, and that's when Donovan could do no wrong.
Well, listen, the Jazz were also winning a lot of games, which helps with being able to be chesty. It's a little hard to be chesty when you're spent most of the year losing. So
that's true.
No, there's never been a rookie more impressive during an 18-game losing streak than Wemby this
year. That's true. He missed a game this week. I think it was with a sore ankle.
But yeah, I mean, obviously Embiid is playing at an unbelievable level, and the Sixers had a bit of a stumble on Monday against Chicago, who's been playing much better without Zach LaVine. But he's on a terrific run, and it'll be interesting to see. They play Miami on Christmas, and then they play in Orlando Wednesday. By the way, we talked a couple weeks ago about Orlando and how tough their schedule was over the next few weeks, and they're taking some losses.
Hey, speaking of rookies, Miami's got one. Miami's got a really good one.
Jaime Jaquez's Christmas debut.
Yeah,
he's been awfully good for them. Might be the third spot on the Rookie of the Year ballot.
I was going to say
the two big guys.
To me, it's Derek Lively. The second is in that mix.
Is Derek Lively going to be available on Monday?
I'm not real confident in that one. We'll see about Kyrie as well. I mean, Lucas said out last night.
We'll get to that game. We'll get to that game in a minute.
We'll get to that game in a minute. All right, so it'll be a terrific opportunity for Joel to get some spotlight. Who knows? Maybe Giannis will set a new Christmas Day record, and Joel will go try to beat it a couple hours later.
Well, should be a big piece about Joel on TV at some point on Monday too. Hopefully.
Oh wow, who did that?
Big Bontemps
somebody.
Wow, holy!
What a week for Joel. The sit down treatment with Bontemps, first place straw poll, Christmas Day, prime time game.
Listen. The man's got some real mental fortitude if he can survive a sit down with Bontemps and still go out and play well.
It apparently lasted like an hour too. Like Joel, I'm not sure.
I wouldn't quite say an hour, but Joel was very generous with his time, and he's been killing people. So
and he was wearing sweats. Oh my gosh, Wendy, he was wearing sweats.
What was with the wallpaper? What was with the wallpaper in that room?
We were in the old players' lounge at the Sixers practice facility, and they had interesting wallpaper. I don't know what else I could say about it.
I thought it was like your study at your office.
Yes, Joel definitely came to my office for sure.
Joel loves New York City. All right, bringing up the rear is MacMahon. 10:30 Eastern.
Bringing up the rear.
You sure as heck are. Bringing up the rear.
Saving the best for last.
Mavericks at Suns, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. Is Arizona Pacific time right now? I don't. I honestly never.
I never know. I
I
always
um,
figure out when I get there.
our buddy Ohm Youngmasuk, who was on the pod the other day from Montgomery, Alabama. I'm a get to the airport early guy,
Phoenix
and
is currently in Mountain Time. I just checked it on my phone.
good to know. Write that down. Ohm is one of these guys who wants to step onto the plane
Oh yeah.
as the door is closing. And if he doesn't step on it, if he goes and sits down before the door closes, he's like, "Oh man, I've wasted
Well, you know
45
why?
seconds of my life."
Because he's short. So he doesn't care if he gets to put his bag in the overhead. That's why, like, dude, that's why.
Are you going to make another ref comment while you're at it?
I'm going to say he sure
got to
as hell
stop
ain't
the
tall
war.
enough to-
You got to stop the war on short people on the pod, man.
It's
I
not
got a lot of
war.
comments. I got a lot of comments at the showcase from people about your screed about
from a
the
bunch
refs.
from a bunch of whiny little twerps.
No, not.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, recently, earlier this season, Ohm finally did miss a flight. Okay.
Ooh, baby.
And, I've been sort of trying to counsel him over the years. I mean, your reward sitting at the gate with no stress
Yes.
is your reward. That's your reward. But anyway, Ohm has been doing better, and he's like he's dialed it back, and he took my counsel. And the other day he had to drive from Montgomery to Alabama to fly back to Los Angeles.
Montgomery to Mobile, you mean?
I'm sorry, Montgomery to Atlanta. I
To
said
Atlanta,
Alabama.
okay.
Montgomery to Atlanta to catch his flight back home to LA. And he was extremely responsible. Left with plenty of time. Looked at his he was watching his GPS, and it said we'll arrive, an hour and 45 minutes before his flight. Oh, this is going to be no problem. Crosses the Alabama Georgia line.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh, that's terrible.
He made it. He said he was.
How did he make it? He always carries like 17 bags. How did he get his bags checked?
Somehow he got his rental car back.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, the man, and I will say this, when the man needs to execute in a hurry, he can do it. That's
I just
like
don't need that stress.
Well, so here's the thing. That's funny you said that. He called me from the highway. He's like, this is gonna be a story. I thought he had already like made it. And like that is connection. And he's like, no, he was in the middle of it. And I was like, I don't need to worry about this, Ohm. Just tell me after it's over. Don't tell me while you're in it.
Well, the other reason I'm gonna get to the airport early, guy, Wendy, and you've chastised me for this one. It's because I'm too cheap to pay for TSA pre-check.
Jesus.
Oh, that's right. You are an insane person. I cannot believe you don't have any travel stuff for all the times you travel. It's crazy.
There's so many ripoffs in this world, particularly at the airport.
It's $15 a year, MacMahon.
And this isn't one of them.
It's a combination.
It literally would be a deal at 10 times the price, at least 5.
It's a combination of too cheap and too, like, I just don't do well filling out paperwork. So I haven't gotten around to it yet. My the registration on my car.
You're 7 years in college. Don't say that out loud.
Hey, I'm on a good streak with it.
All right.
I'm glad Ohm made it though.
You know who's not on a good streak right now? The Suns.
The Suns.
Not on a good streak.
Oh boy.
Are the Suns in any trouble yet, Brian? After the other day when you declared all is well in Phoenix?
Well, I don't think it's you saying. I don't think I said all is well. I think they're in a tough spot, and I think that the NBA season is very long, and they are going to need the length of that season.
Yes, they have to figure their way out of trouble because they are in trouble right now. They are absolutely in trouble right now. There's way too much of a burden on Booker and KD. KD looked like he forgot how to dribble a basketball last night or Friday night in Sacramento. Man, what have they lost now? 8 of 11?
Well, they're sitting at 500. And Kevin Durant has missed 4 games. It's a problem. Because he's probably not going to finish the season with 4 missed games.
Yeah, Booker's missed a bunch. Beal's missed almost all of them, basically. And is not going to be back until early January.
Who knows when? Right.
Yeah.
Well, Durant is playing like almost 4 minutes more a game than he did last year with the Suns.
It's a recipe for trouble.
And that is, to be honest with you, if you want me to say one thing that I'm worried about, it's Durant's minutes. Um, they don't have the team, they don't have the personnel. They need Beal. They need to be a monster offensive team. MacMahon is always updating us on who's, threatening to break the record for best all-time offense. The Suns need to be in that conversation from day one, and they're not able to. And they signed all these 3-and-D guys, and those guys are not D'ing or 3ing. And they're minimum players, okay, but you're banking on one or two of them to have big seasons and outplay the minimum. And right now, that's not really happening. I guess Gordon is the guy who is, if any of them are. And so, but
You
I'm
know
just
where Phoenix
say,
ranks in offense?
not number 1 or 3 or 5.
15th.
No chance at 15th. No chance. They got to be top
15th
3.
in offense, 19th in defense.
Well, 19th in defense is about where I thought they would be.
Yeah.
But they need to be
15
one
in
or
offense. Yeah,
they need to be 1, 2, or 3 all time in offense with the way this team is structured.
Well, if you're 1, 2, or 3 in the league, you're 1, 2, or 3 all time.
Well, there you go. So that's just the truth. And one of the concerning things to me, well, I've got two things beyond Durant's minutes. One is I know Booker does a reasonable job offensively as the point guard, but there's a reason why the point guard position exists in basketball. And there are occasional players who are able to play point guard and the team is able to function very highly over the course of time. But there's a reason why the game was structured where there is a guy that sets up the score. That is, and historically, if you look at teams that don't have point guards and then they get point guards, the first thing they say is, man, it's so great. And so they made a tactical decision after the way Booker played at point guard in the playoffs last year. But I think part of the burden of them is asking him to play point guard. Two of the things that you hear from NBA players are how taxing it is to bring the ball up. Typically if the other team is pressuring the ball, and how taxing it is to defend in the post, especially if you're slightly undersized. That's dozens and dozens of times in my career, I hear people talk about that, which is why you see sometimes the teams give their point guards a break by having another guy bring the ball up the court so that their point guard can rest for a few seconds.
And by the way, that makes what Harden did for all those years in Houston so incredibly impressive, because he brought it up and he was one of the good.
Well,
for all the criticism,
no one has ever questioned. You can question Harden's commitment to conditioning, but nobody can ever question when he's out on the court that he doesn't, exhaust himself offensively. I don't know about
he used
defensively.
to be incredibly durable. Anyways,
so that concern. My other thing is that the Suns don't play with a lot of spirit. They just don't.
Yeah.
You watch them play and they act like a team that's coming off a title. They don't act like a team, especially as they've been in this stretch. And they got a bunch of these guys on minimums. I mean, that you're kind of also buying energy there. And that's not happening. And Frank Vogel after these games, like he's not offering, he's basically like, we're going to get through it. We've got time. Which I believe, but it's not inspiring to hear what he's saying. So, I don't know if I'd say they're in trouble, but it's obviously concerning.
I'm going to push back on you on the Booker thing. He's averaging basically 28 and 8. He's near the top of the league. I don't know if he's yet officially a qualifier, but the only guys averaging more assists per game than him are Halliburton, Trae Young, Joker, Doncic.
I know, but you have to wonder how their offense would function if he didn't have to bring the ball up.
Well, here's what I'm saying. Him and Booker are constantly getting blitzed, getting doubled. They get off the ball, and at a certain point, like, other guys have to make shots. And the offense lately, it has been sputtering. But with Booker on the floor, they're averaging almost 119 points per 100 possessions. when you make the bet that they did on Bradley Beal, and you guarantee that your roster is going to be that top heavy, and you get absolutely nothing out of that.
It's been
It ain't gonna
28
be
games. 28.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, even when he's played, he's been trying to get into rhythm, and it hadn't been a factor. They've got nothing out of Bradley Beal. The whole idea is, hey, you want to force the ball out of Booker's hands or out of KD's hands? Bradley Beal as a third option will make you pay. Hadn't happened, and
It's been
I don't know.
28 games, and Beal's played like what, 3?
He's played in 6,
Okay.
but like the 6th one, he barely played. He got hurt early in the 4th quarter. I mean,
When Durant and Booker been on the court together, their offensive rating's been 121. Devin Booker bringing the ball up is not the problem. Their roster around those guys is not good enough. And again, as we talked about the other day, part of that is like they spent all this money and then they cheaped out on campaign and a couple other things.
Come on, brother. They are not in this spot because they gave away campaign.
I didn't say it's because of that. It's they had some functional depth and they depleted some of it to save money. It's part of the problem. It's not 80% of the problem, but it's part of the problem. The problem is the guys they have around those guys have not been good enough.
I mean, they're a second apron team. They're not cheap.
Well, they cheaped out once they went into the second apron, which is why if you're going to make the Bradley Beal move, you have to go all in, and they went all in and then pulled some back.
You can call it cheap that they made some financially motivated decisions, if you want to be
polite. However you want to phrase it.
So far this season, when they've had KD and Booker, you've had 2 superstars and 3 subpar starters. Because even when Beal's played, he hadn't been, like I said, he's been trying to.
And in 15 games those guys have played, by the way, they're 8-7.
Not great. Not great.
There's been 28 games played.
Let's just not talk about the Suns. Everything's great. We'll just want to talk about them until April.
I'm just saying, like,
why worry about it?
Because I've watched the NBA for 21 years, or longer than that, but I've covered the NBA for 21 years, and I've just seen people make declarations in December, and they don't look so good come April.
I mean, we didn't make any declarations, but if you're just going to say that they've played 28 games, let's just not talk about them. It's like, it's all fine. Don't worry about it.
You do have to be careful about making grand conclusions, but you don't have to be careful about identifying the 5-alarm fire that's happening right now in Phoenix.
Yeah,
they better get the hoses quick.
Obviously, they are struggling, and their role players that they were banking on are looking like minimum players. But it's been 28 games.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, okay. The Mavericks have done a decent job, I think, MacMahon, of keeping their head above water despite having injuries to their frontline guys. To me, one of the things about Dallas is I can just call up the box score and look and see if Tim Hardaway's making threes. And if Tim Hardaway's making threes, I'm like, well, they're winning this. I don't even have to look at the score. I'll just look at Tim Hardaway's line. I'll tell you how they're playing. But, Luka is having another spectacular season. And considering how long Kyrie's been out here, I think they've fared pretty well. We'll see who's available on Monday. But, and this is obviously Booker, Luka have, gone chest to chest several times. And considering that it is a game where Beal is going to be out and there's a chance Kyrie is going to be out, I could see the two of them having another sort of classic in this one.
Oh, yeah. No question about that. I don't know what the Mavericks lineup's going to look like. Kyrie's out of the boot. We'll see if he can make it back by then. Clearly he's not going to rush back if he's not quite ready. Lively did his ankle pretty good, it seems like. I don't know that he's going to be ready for Christmas. And you talk about Hardaway's three-point shooting as hey, did the Mavericks win? Another pretty good way to figure out if the Mavericks are going to win or lose is Derek Lively the second in the lineup.
Yeah.
16-7 when he's in the lineup. And there's certainly some extenuating circumstances on this other stat, but 0-5 when he's not. Now, the last few is like no Lively, no Kyrie, Friday night in Houston, no Luca, no Josh Green, no Cleo. Like they punted on the front end of a back-to-back last night in Houston. We'll see what they throw out there against those red hot Spurs who won a game this month in Dallas tonight. But again, we've talked about how much Chet Holmgren is impacting winning as a rookie and how rare that is. Derek Lively II, a guy who averaged 5 and 5 last year for Duke, has been incredibly impactful as far as winning goes this year for the Mavericks. And that's why when he turned his ankle the other night, that was a pretty big deal.
I mean, listen, if we had said back in June when the Mavs drafted him with that pick that he was going to be their third best and most important player this season, we probably would have all thought that the Mavs are going to be pretty bad, right? And the fact that he's been this good and this important to their success so far, it's been a really good sign for them going forward, because there's obviously a lot of upside there with his athleticism and size and ability that he's already shown this much. Like, obviously, we've talked about how Dallas has steps to go to really become a true championship contending team again, but Lively playing like this, it's a pretty exciting thing for Dallas moving forward to have a young guy with his skill set with Luka for, hopefully a while. Like that's a combo that can grow together and be awfully, awfully good.
And look, the Mavericks paid, I think it was $750,000. It was a high six-figure fine for tanking the last 2 games. They got shredded for it. They got, it was a humiliating experience, right? And it was absolutely the right move, because if they don't do that, they would have sent like the 11th or 12th pick to the Knicks. Instead, they ended up with 10, traded down a couple spots, but they ended up with this pick that is Derek Lively II. And if this thing is if there's a long-term bright future for Luka in Dallas, Derek Lively II is going to be an absolutely massive part of it. And I would argue long-term, and I'm talking, 4 or 5 years down the road, he's the second most important player on this roster already.
I mean, they were sniffing around, as you've talked about, for a center in the trade market that might have cost them between 25 and 35 million.
They had discussions about DeAndre Ayton and discussions about Clint Capella leading up to the draft.
They were way better off having Lively. Better off.
So Lively makes like 3 million, 4 million for the next 4 years. How about that investment for $750,000? Is that a
and to be clear,
good investment?
To be clear, I think in any of those situations, like they still would have had Lively on the roster, but he would have been a 14 or 16 minute per game guy.
Well, it's about allocation of resources, right?
Yes.
Because like if you don't have Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic or Bam Adebayo or Anthony Davis, like a super elite, DeMont, whatever, all-star level center.
Yeah.
You're much better off having a guy like Lively. Obviously, you're not always going to get a 10th overall pick as young as him playing like this, but investing lower money in a solid playing center and then putting resources in the rest of your roster and having him play like this, it gives them the flexibility now to go get other pieces around Luka and him and Kyrie that can make this team a lot better than if they'd had to invest a bunch of their resources in getting a center to play now that's not only stunting his growth, but then takes away from the Madden to the rest of the team.
Right.
All right, well, they're about to tip off at the Madison Square Garden, so Bontemps has got to get down there. MacMahon's got to
tip off without Bontemps.
That is true.
MacMahon's got to get in line at TSA because, good God, you know what? You shouldn't have reminded me about that because I'd forgotten about it.
Well, here's the problem. Usually they got the priority line, but airports have started to get away from the priority line, so it's
rightfully so. Here. And rightfully so. Bontemps, we should just get him a present and fill out the freaking paperwork for him.
Please.
I can't believe the IT department hasn't made him do it just so she doesn't have to endure this nonsense.
She struggles with paperwork as well. She doesn't have many flaws. That's one of them.
Never mind. All right.
Except for in the professional world. She's really good out there.
I was going to say, her big part of her job is paperwork, and I've heard her give a pitch. She knows what she's talking about. I reject that. All right. It's
She
just
has no
say,
claws. You're right. None.
let's just say that like
That's a much better answer.
when she puts her professional hat on, she sounds more impressive than you. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, hey, Wendy at our dinner in Vegas said, I agree with 99% of what you're saying. That's what she said.
I did.
And
I
boy, that
did.
pissed her off because she's like, what the hell's the 1%?
Letting you off the hook for not getting freaking TSA pre-check.
Oh.
All right. Thanks to Jackson, our producer, for working on this holiday weekend. Thanks for listening to this droning
Happy
on
holidays,
long
everybody.
podcast. Happy holidays.
Safe travels.
Safe travels to you guys heading out on Christmas Day. And thanks for listening. We will talk to you guys. Our schedule will be a little bit off because we got Christmas on Monday. So we'll have a podcast later in the week. So enjoy this one and enjoy the holiday. We'll talk to you soon.
Feliz Navidad y adios amigos.